I got a nice little present from Lauren Southern a little while back, and I knew I had to make a video on it. I may have to break it up, but I thought I'd start with the privilege list and go from there. Here are 26 failed privileges feminists think white people have. Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh. McIntosh. Sounds familiar. Where have I heard that name before? Macintosh. Oh, well, I better break out the critical thinking meter on this one. I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. This is neither a privilege nor a disadvantage, unless you are trying to say that being in the company of someone other than your own race is a problem. We are all human, and if a person is pink, purple, white, black, or green, it doesn't matter. Having been in the military, my flight was made up of 90% non-white people. I was a minority. I never thought to myself, gosh, I feel like I need to be with my own kind. That sounds like something a racist would say, but then, feminists always did have a racist mentality towards white people. If I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and which I would want to live. Nope, I cannot be pretty sure of that, as it has nothing to do with skin color, but financial capabilities. If I make $20,000 a year as a white person, this does not give me more buying power than a non-white person that makes the same amount of money. We can neither one of us purchase housing in an area where we would really like to live. I can be pretty sure that my neighbors in such a location will be neutral or pleasant to me. Nope, I cannot be pretty sure of that either. If anyone feels like their neighbors feel anything other than neutral, unless their neighbors specifically tell them, are projecting or mind readers. And then if the neighbors don't like this person, you must then prove it's because the person isn't white that is the reason. The person might just be a douchebag. See, there are other reasons other than racism that can explain why people don't like you. I can go shopping alone most of the time pretty well assured that I will not be followed or harassed. Actually, in this day and age, no one can be pretty well assured of that. With cameras, you don't know who's sitting up and peering down and following you. I can be pretty well assured that if a white person dressed up sagging their pants to the backs of their knees and wearing a bandana, he will be followed a lot closer than a non-white man dressed in a suit. Sorry, Bill. I know that black guy over there looks suspicious, but you have filled your quota for the day of following black people. I can turn on the television and open the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely represented. This is neither a privilege nor disadvantage. Unlike feminists, I like to be entertained, and I don't need to be represented in a television show or newspaper to have that. For some reason, feminists think that a story can only be good if you share the same skin color or gender as someone in the story. This is a good example of feminism clearly ignoring the hundreds of shows that widely represent non-white people. When I'm told about national heritage or civilization, I'm shown that people of my color made it what it is. If civilization was made by a white person, lying to appease diversity is plain stupidity. I guess Harriet Tubman and George Washington Carver were just white people now because, well, privilege. And the Civil War never happened, and glory was never based on a true story. Oh wait, when privilege is vague, everyone has it, and when everyone is privileged, no one is. I can be sure my child will be given curricular materials that testify to the existence of their race. Refer to the previous point. Clearly, feminist stupidity is to blame, as there are plenty of curricular materials to testify to the existence of all races. Trigger warning, facts ahead. Every child can be sure of this. If I want to, I can be pretty sure of finding a publisher for this piece on white privilege. Anyone can be pretty sure of this regardless of race. And if you cannot, how can you be sure it's because of race? Bell Hooks, Roxane Gay, Angela Davis all have published pieces that talk about white privilege. Did you do any research before posting this point? People of all races write on fictional dogma. I can go into a music shop and count on finding the music of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods which fit with my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can cut my hair. 1. All kinds of music can be found in music shops, not just white music. When was the last time you've been in a music shop? 2. Music is pretty much purchased online now. You can find your music that represents your race, though I buy music I like, not because it's white music. 3. Supermarkets stock things that will sell, but hey, if you think you can sell tarantulas because there's enough Vietnamese to help keep you in business, I support you. It's a free market. And 4. Finding a hairdresser is easy regardless of your race. A white person will have just as difficult time finding a hairdresser as a black person if they are both looking for the same hairstyle. The opposite holds true as well. Skin color is irrelevant. Whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance of my financial credibility. So your claim is if a black man dressed in a suit walks up to a cashier, he will likely have less financial credibility than a white man dressed in torn jeans and a t-shirt? Huh, and what scientific study do you have to prove this load of bull? So dress and appearance wouldn't have any effect on his privilege? Somehow I doubt that. I can arrange to protect my children most of the time from people who might not like them. What proof do you have that white people can do this where non-whites cannot? A white parent has no control whether their child is protected, just like any other parent regardless of race. Complete feminist stupidity. I can swear or dress in second-hand clothes or not answer letters without having people attribute those choices to the bad morals, the poverty, or the illiteracy of my race. So I guess the term white trash doesn't exist then? I mean, it's not a judgment or anything based on skin color. Not at all. I can speak in public to a powerful male group without putting my race on trial. Citation needed. I want to see this study you are referencing that a specific race is put on trial when speaking in public to a powerful male group. You better be able to prove that the race is what is put on trial here and not the person's intellect. I can do well in a challenging situation without being called a credit to my race. Feminists force this privilege because they keep making up these privileges only white people have, so we have to keep citing billions of examples of successful non-whites. As soon as these privilege lists die, so will this advantage given to white people. I am never asked to speak for all the people of my racial group. Really? I guess it's only okay if black people do it and assume all white people are the same. Get rid of feminism and this privilege too will disappear. I can remain oblivious of the language and customs of people of color who constitute the world's majority without feeling in my culture any penalty for such oblivion. Ah, the myth of cultural appropriation. Newsflash. Everyone can choose to remain oblivious to customs and languages of every culture without penalty. I can criticize our government and talk about how much I fear its policies and behavior without being seen as a cultural outsider. This has absolutely nothing to do with skin color. How you feel is irrelevant to reality. Everyone gets this. It's called free speech. It's protected under the First Amendment. Maybe you've heard of it. Someone that criticizes the government often and someone I respect is that guy T. I don't know, I might be colorblind, but I don't think he's white. I don't know, maybe he fears speaking about his opinion and feels like a cultural outsider. I can be pretty sure that if I speak to the person in charge, I will be facing a person of my race. If I ended up having to speak with the person in charge because something is wrong, on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance that person shares my skin color, would have to be a -3. It's not a privilege to speak with someone that shares my same skin color. Well, maybe to a racist. If a traffic cop pulls me over or if the IRS audits my tax return, I can be pretty sure I haven't been singled out because of my race. No, I cannot be sure of that, because here in reality, bigots exist regardless if the skin color is white or otherwise. I mean, there's no one that hates white people, specifically men. Those people don't exist. We don't live in the 1950s anymore. Just because you feel like you are being targeted because of your race doesn't mean you are being targeted because of your race. I can easily buy posters, postcards, picture books, greeting cards, dolls, toys, and children's magazines featuring people of my race. Are you trying to say that movie posters and music posters only feature white people on them? Wow, you're either blind or simply stupid. Personally, I buy things based on what I like and not because they feature people of my race. But then, maybe you're racist? I can go home from most meetings of organizations I belong to feeling somewhat tied in, rather than isolated, out of place, outnumbered, unheard, held at a distance, or feared. More feelings of insecurities and projection. White people are not automatically granted this because of their skin color, sorry. If you feel rather isolated, out of place, outnumbered, unheard, held at a distance, or feared, this problem may lie with you. Your skin color cannot control how you feel. Skin color is irrelevant. I can take a job with an affirmative action employer without having coworkers on the job suspect that I got it because of my race. Yep, this is a privilege. Get rid of affirmative action, then this privilege goes away. You are complaining about something your movement helps perpetuate. Conservatives and anti-feminists are pretty much anti-affirmative action. You are on the wrong team if you think this privilege is a problem. I can choose public accommodation without fearing that people of my race cannot get in or will be mistreated in the place I have chosen. That was 1960. They called to say that they wanted their Jim Crow laws back. Blacks, Asians, Latinos all have this privilege too. Congratulations. Just because you fear something doesn't mean it will happen. Side note, just because you are mistreated doesn't mean it's because of your race. I can be sure that if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me. Are you stuck in the past or something? This is something everyone can be sure of. Just because you feel unsure of something doesn't mean that you won't get help. But yes, provide evidence that on such a large scale that non-whites are not getting the legal or medical help that they need, and it is specifically due to their race. Try and keep it to the 21st century. If my day, week, or year is going badly, I need not ask of each negative episode or situation whether it has racial overtones. Because that would be stupid to think one has a worse day simply because of racial overtones over someone who didn't have racial overtones. Your bad day is not necessarily worse than my bad day just because there weren't racial overtones that helped create it. Oh gee, my brother was hit by a truck, but at least I wasn't called a cracker. Give me a break. Feminism is chock full of racial overtones against whites. People find feminism retarded is why we don't have a bad day over it. I can choose blemish cover or bandages in flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. 1. Since I'm a makeup artist, I happen to know for a fact that blemish cover is available in all skin tones across the skin shade spectrum, so there's that. 2. If the color of your bandage is that important, feel free to Google the color you wish to have, and there are plenty out there for purchase. Me? I'm partial to rainbow myself. You're welcome. And 3. You are wrong that I can choose the bandage of my color, as I'm far too pale for any supermarket brand bandages to share my skin color. Maybe if Band-Aids came in pale white? But Mom, I cannot have that Band-Aid. It doesn't match my skin color, said no kid ever.